Hi everyone, this is Tun Saruchi Kamjorn, and welcome to this very special episode of our podcast. Today, we're doing a deep dive into one of the most exciting market moves I've ever seen, Nu Skin's official launch into India. And trust me, this is not your average expansion strategy. In fact, what you're about to hear could change your future, especially if you're an OCI, PIO, or NRI. If that's you, then I want you to listen closely because the window is closing. The market officially opened November 1st and timing is critical. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's unpack this. When you think about markets that are just vibrating with energy, growth, and sheer scale, India jumps right to the front of the line.
It really does. It's impossible to ignore.
We've got a stack of sources in front of us today, articles, research, your notes, all focused on, well, a fascinating challenge, how a specific company, Nu Skin, is strategizing its entry into this incredibly dynamic Indian market. Our mission in this deep dive, to go through these materials, pull out the absolute core of their strategic thinking, understand the key factors driving their decisions, and really see the unique approach they're taking.
Yeah, looking for those unexpected insights, the clever adaptation.
Exactly. The things that make this more than just, a standard market launch. What's fascinating here is how meticulously the strategy, as laid out in these sources, seems tailored.
It really does. It seems very specific to the realities of India, not a generic plan at all.
Right. It feels deeply informed by the unique landscape there.
Exactly. So let's jump right in and figure out what's really happening behind the scenes of this major market move, based on the information you provided.
Okay. The first big question these sources prompt is, why India and why right now? What makes it such a compelling opportunity at this moment?
Well, it really starts with the sheer scale and, critically, the demographic profile.
Right. Looking at the numbers and the sources, total population figure of 1.424 billion people. That's massive on its own.
Huge.
But here's where it gets really interesting, and this was a standout point in the research. 65% of that population is under the age of 35.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. That's 910 million millennials and Gen Z combined.
910 million.
Just the millennial generation alone accounts for 440 million people. To put that in perspective, that's more people than the entire population of the U.S. and Canada combined.
That's incredible. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that young demographic is, well, it's a powerful engine. The research consistently highlights them as opportunity-seeking, incredibly ambitious, highly digitally fluent, and really eager for economic advancement. That seems to be the core driver for entering this market now, as the sources suggest.
And beyond just youth, your notes also highlight the rapidly growing middle class.
Yes, that's key too.
It's estimated to be around 300 to 350 million people today.
Right.
And the projection is for that to roughly double to 600, 700 million within the next 2 decades.
A doubling.
But the material makes an important distinction. Middle-class income in India, typically cited as $7,000 to $22,000 USD per year, covers a wide spectrum.
Yeah, that range is important.
The higher end of that is concentrated in the large Tier 1 metropolitan cities, while the lower end extends much deeper into the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities.
Which raises a really important question, doesn't it? How do you create a business model and product offering that can genuinely serve such a diverse range of incomes and living costs?
Yeah.
It immediately tells you a single one-size-fits-all approach just won't cut it.
And then there's the digital revolution happening simultaneously. The sources indicate over 1.2 billion internet users.
1.2 billion.
What's striking is the overwhelming mobile-first behavior. 88% are mobile-first users, meaning their primary, often only access to the internet is via smartphone.
Right. Not desktop first like in some other markets.
Not at all. And 99% of data consumption is on mobile. And social media is huge. 470 million users, heavily skewed towards platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
So being digital isn't just an add-on, it's absolutely foundational. The sources imply that the entire operational model, from communication to transactions, has to function flawlessly on mobile.
Right, to even reach and engage this population effectively. So piecing together what's in the sources, we see a market that is incredibly young, deeply online, actively searching for economic opportunities, and also keenly aware of cost and value. That sets a really unique stage for any business, especially one in direct selling.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the direct selling landscape itself in India. The sources provide some really interesting context here.
They do. The market has seen significant recent growth. Your notes point to it jumping from, what, $1.74 billion in 2018 to $3.2 billion post-COVID.
Almost doubling in just a few years. It's pretty dramatic growth.
And the number of people involved is huge. 12 million distributors in India compared to about 16 million in the US. So similar numbers of people.
Right, the participation numbers are comparable.
But here's the really stark contrast the sources highlight, and it's a critical insight. U.S. direct selling generates around $40.5 billion in revenue.
Okay.
While India's is $3.2 billion.
Wow, $3.2 billion versus $40.5 billion.
13 times lower revenue with a very similar number of people participating.
What this data points to quite clearly is that the primary challenge isn't a lack of interest in direct selling or opportunity. It's lower purchasing power, affordability.
Exactly.
The same effort by a distributor yields significantly less revenue on average. This fact, highlighted in the sources, profoundly shapes how you have to think about product strategy, pricing, and crucially, compensation.
Makes sense. The sources also note a shift happening within Indian direct selling historically. It was often more male-dominated.
Traditionally.
But there's increasing participation from women, including housewives, who see it as a flexible way to earn income from home.
Which fits that opportunity-seeking theme we mentioned.
Definitely. And the product categories that dominate sales align with major consumer trends. Wellness and beauty make up a massive 74% of the direct sales revenue.
Yeah, that's a huge chunk. Wellness and beauty are clearly the sweet spot.
And looking at the competition mentioned in the material, Herbalife is identified as a major player.
Right.
Interestingly, the sources suggest their strong presence is seen positively by Nu Skin, or at least acknowledged.
Yeah, almost like market preparation.
Because they've helped build market awareness and acceptance for this kind of business model, even if consumers don't always label it direct selling.
While Amway is noted as having reportedly declined, and you've got local Indian companies like Modicare and Prestige apparently growing fast, they're significant competitors.
Right, local players are strong. And pulling back to the broader economic trends mentioned, the sources point to the explosion of the gig economy in India.
That's a big one.
It's expected to grow by 200% in the next 6 years, with projections that over 4.1% of the total workforce could be involved.
Wow, 200% growth.
Their direct selling, offering flexible, independent work, fits squarely into that broader trend of individuals seeking alternative income streams outside traditional employment.
It really does align perfectly with that gig economy mindset.
So, informed by this detailed understanding of the market's dynamics, the youth, the digital landscape, the income diversity, the direct selling specifics, and the gig economy trend.
Right, all those pieces.
The sources outline 4 core strategic pillars for Nu Skin's entry. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're specific responses to the conditions we've just discussed.
Exactly. These pillars are the foundation designed to address the unique challenges and, leverage the specific opportunities India presents.
Let's break them down. Pillar 1, international leadership engagement. The initial challenge identified is that Nu Skin doesn't currently have a deep bench of established Indian leaders within their existing global distributor network.
Right, not a pre-existing base there.
So the strategic solution presented is to build this leadership base before the official market launch. How? By focusing on the Indian diaspora.
Which, as the sources correctly point out, is the largest diaspora population globally. Huge potential pool there.
Yeah, they specifically mention significant communities in places like North America, 6.3 million, Southeast Asia, 3.75 million, Europe, 3.5 million, and Australia, around 1 million.
So the strategy involves actively recruiting and training specific groups within that diaspora, individuals who hold OCI, PIO, or NRI status.
Can you explain those statuses briefly?
Sure. For those unfamiliar, these are statuses granted by the Indian government that essentially allow people of Indian origin or their spouses certain rights. Crucially, the ability to live, work, and operate businesses in India without needing a standard work visa.
Okay.
So the goal is to get these individuals trained, engaged, and basically ready to hit the ground running to build teams in India the moment the market officially opens.
It's a very specific, sort of preemptive approach to cultivating leadership, leveraging global connections before establishing a full domestic presence.
Exactly. Very targeted.
Okay. Moving to pillar 2, product plus price value proposition.
Right.
The major barrier the sources highlight here is India's incredibly high import tariffs. You mentioned them briefly. 140% to a staggering 200%.
Yeah, just huge. Simply importing existing products at their global price points would make them prohibitively expensive for the vast majority of the Indian market.
So imports are basically a non-starter for scale.
Pretty much. The solution, as outlined, is local manufacturing through third-party contract partners in India.
Okay, local production.
And your notes point out something interesting. Indians generally trust international brands, but there's also a growing sense of national pride and preference for goods that are made in India, even if it's by foreign companies.
That's a crucial insight. So local production isn't just about cost.
No, it can also be a trust and branding advantage. Made in India matters.
And to tackle the income diversity we discussed earlier.
The strategy involves creating tiered product lines. This means having offerings designed for different segments. You've got the higher income SECA group.
That's the socioeconomic classification system they use.
Right. So products for SECA, then down through the emerging middle class SECB, and the mass market SECC and D, which represent lower income brackets, often outside the major cities.
So different products for different wallets.
Exactly. This could include offering existing entry-level product lines like, say, Nutri-Essentials, or even developing localized formats like single-use sachets or smaller packaging sizes, things that make products more accessible at lower price points.
That makes sense. But it raises an important question. How do you manage brand perception and quality expectations across such a wide range of price points and formats?
That's the tightrope walk, isn't it? It's a delicate balance between accessibility and maintaining the premium image they likely want.
Okay. Pillar 3, affiliate-powered opportunity platform.
This pillar directly addresses the market's need for faster income results.
Yeah.
Something strongly implied by that lower average revenue per distributor we saw earlier, reflecting lower purchasing power.
Right. People need to see returns quicker.
Exactly. So the strategy presented is to increase the front-end commissions, what an affiliate earns directly from their personal sales.
So more reward for individual selling effort up front.
That's the idea. The sources indicate the plan is to make it easier and quicker for new affiliates to earn some money right away from their own selling efforts, while still maintaining the team-building commissions that reward developing a sales network for long-term income potential.
So it's not all front-end loaded.
No, it's described as a hybrid commission model, designed to offer both the appeal of immediate earnings and the long-term potential of building a sustainable business. It seems tailored to that need for quicker returns we identified.
Got it. A hybrid approach for faster but also sustainable income.
Precisely. Catering to that urgent need for opportunity and a faster path to income generation that the sources identify in the market.
And finally, pillar 4, digital-first approach.
Yeah, this pillar is a direct consequence of India's overwhelming mobile dominance we talked about.
Right, the 88% mobile-first users.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that the strategy isn't just about having an app or a website. The material emphasizes that the entire business model must be built from the ground up to function seamlessly and intuitively on a smartphone.
Not just mobile-friendly, but mobile-centric.
Totally. The sources mention a specific partnership with Infosys, a major Indian tech firm, to develop the digital tools and platforms.
Okay, leveraging local tech expertise.
Which suggests the development is deeply tailored to the specifics of Indian digital behavior and infrastructure. Everything from placing product orders and processing payments to accessing training materials and managing their business, all intended to be mobile-based for the affiliate.
That really underlines why being digital-first and specifically mobile-centric isn't just a convenience.
No, it's an absolute necessity for reaching, supporting, and empowering affiliates across the country effectively and at scale.
Okay. So, with those 4 core strategic pillars in place, international leadership, product price value, affiliate opportunity, and digital first, let's look at the tactical plan and the incentives designed to drive the market entry as detailed in the sources.
Right, the how. They've developed a specific pre-launch initiative called the India Founders Program.
Okay, Founders Program. What's the goal there?
It's designed to incentivize building momentum before the market officially opens, get things moving early.
And how does it work, according to the material?
Well, individuals can sponsor those India-eligible diaspora representatives, the OCI, PIO, or NRI folks we mentioned.
Right, the ones who can operate in India.
Who reach the rank of Ruby within the new skin compensation plan before the India market officially launches. Then, critically, if those sponsored representatives and their teams generate sales volume in India after the market opens,
after launch,
the original sponsor earns a share of India's total year-one revenue pool.
Ah, okay. A bonus pool based on early building.
Exactly. And the size of the share depends on different tiers. Founder 1, Founder 10, Founder 20, Founder 40, based on the number of personally sponsored qualifying Ruby reps they brought in pre-launch.
So it's a clear, performance-based incentive program structured to drive crucial early recruitment and leadership development from outside the country, but focused on the future Indian market volume.
Precisely. Its strategic importance for building that initial base before launch seems pretty evident from the description.
The sources also lay out a phased approach to getting the market ready. It sounds quite methodical.
Yes, it seems very structured. Phase 1 involves setting up the foundational legal and operational structure and recruiting the first 500 India-eligible representatives, likely those initial target diaspora leaders.
Building the skeleton crew, basically.
Sort of. Then Phase 2 is about securing local manufacturing partners, launching those critical mobile-first digital tools, and scaling recruitment to reach around 1,000 more reps.
Getting the infrastructure and more people in place.
Right. And Phase 3 wraps things up, focusing on hiring local staff, setting up physical office presence, and finalizing logistics and supply chain details, all the on-the-ground stuff.
This methodical step-by-step build-out. It seems designed to manage the significant complexity and inherent risks of entering a market of this scale and nuance.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to rush into a market like India unprepared. This phased approach makes sense.
And the target date for the official launch, as stated in the sources, is November 1st.
November 1st. So coming up relatively soon based on when these plans were likely laid out.
Okay, we've taken a pretty deep dive into this strategic playbook for India based on the collection of sources you provided. Now, for you listening, what really stands out from this detailed approach?
Yeah, think about it. How do these specific characteristics of the Indian market, the young, digitally native, opportunity-seeking population, but with that significant income diversity, how does that resonate or perhaps compare with markets you might be familiar with or working in?
If we connect all this to the bigger picture, what emerges is a strategic blueprint meticulously crafted for a market defined by really a unique confluence of factors.
A young, digitally native population hungry for opportunity but constrained by lower average purchasing power. This requires highly specific adaptations.
Like leveraging the global diaspora for initial leadership.
Committing to local manufacturing, not just for cost, but for local appeal.
Developing those hybrid commission structures for faster payouts.
And ensuring the entire operational backbone is built for a mobile-first world. It all seems interconnected.
It truly underscores that successful market entry isn't a one-size-fits-all exercise. It's about deeply understanding and creatively responding to the specific environment you're entering.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating case study in applying a global business model within a very distinct local context.
That wraps up our deep dive today into this particular market entry strategy based on the sources you shared with us.
And here's a final thought for you to consider as you mull this over.
Given the detailed strategy we discussed, which places such heavy reliance on pre-launch recruitment from the Indian diaspora and that phased build-out before the official market opening.
Yeah, that pre-launch focus is key.
What do you think might be the potential long-term advantages or perhaps the unique challenges of this approach compared to the market entries that rely more on building leadership strictly within the target country after launch?
Right. What could this specific strategy tell us more broadly about effectively scaling businesses in diverse emerging economies, where leveraging external resources, like a diaspora, while building internal capacity is perhaps crucial? Something to think about.
So here's the bottom line. If you're an OCI, PIO, or NRI, this is your time. You don't need to be in India, you just need to be ready. I am personally helping train and mentor India-eligible leaders right now, helping them plug into systems, tools, and support before the floodgates open. They're me today. Let's get you set up, trained, and qualified to earn from day one. Because markets don't wait, timing is everything. This is Toon signing off. Let's build something incredible together.